This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Now, this is something that I was going to do a few days ago, but I didn't do it because I wasn't exactly sure if I was right or not. Because if I'd have done the video and it turned out that I was totally wrong, it'd have made me look pretty foolish, right? That I'm just coming up with conspiracy theories, all that kind of thing. But going on the statement that Eddie Hearn has just released, which is that himself, Sal Canelo Alvarez, and Alvarez's trainer, Eddie Reynoso, who of course also trains the likes of Ryan Garcia and Andy Ruiz Jr., Frank Sanchez, and so forth. They're planning a big launch in Mexico. Now, what am I talking about? Okay, now, a lot of people, especially here in the UK, we've been like, well, what is it with this matchmaking? These Mexicans are coming over beating our Brits, such as Mauricio Lara defeated Josh Warrington, Gabriel Venezuela defeated Robert Davis Jr., and so forth. And at a bare minimum, a lot of these Mexicans, they're coming over and at least giving some of our fighters a bit of a torrid time, are they not? So we've been saying, a lot of people have been saying, well, is this just poor matchmaking? Is this a case of they're just looking on Boxrec and just randomly grabbing names? Oh, well, he's from Mexico, so he's going to be cheap. Throw him in there. And it's going badly wrong because the matchmakers are not looking at exactly what Mauricio Lara is all about. Gabriel Venezuela, exactly what he's all about. Just look at the record. He's got a couple of losses here, there, and everywhere. What's happening? This has got to be poor matchmaking. What's going on? But it's not poor matchmaking. And this goes back to the video that I was going to do beforehand, where I suspected that he was doing this because we knew that DAZN and Matchroom had been putting on shows pre-lockdown in Mexico. So when you look at it from a business perspective rather than a biased British perspective, of course we're looking at it going, what the hell's going on here? Why is he feeding our Brits to these unknown killers? Okay, but it's business. It has to be business. It's a case of Mauricio Lara. Why Mauricio Lara? Out of all the fighters that Josh Warrington could have possibly fought, why Mauricio Lara? Well, because he's very, very good. And if he comes over and if Josh Warrington wins, great, no problem. We're going to continue to give Josh Warrington a bit of a push. Mauricio Lara comes over, beats Josh Warrington, what happens? Well, they've got another name to be putting on the Mexican shows, haven't they? Same with Gabriel Venezuela when he defeated Robert Davis Jr. and so forth. And a lot of these Mexicans who's coming over are, as I said before, giving at a bare minimum a very, very good account of themselves. So this big launch in Mexico is all about, well, Mauricio Lara can come over. If he loses, oh, well, no problem. The Brit wins. If he beats Josh Warrington, we've got potentially a headliner on a Mexican show. We've now got more Mexican fighters to promote. We've now got more Mexican fighters that the Mexicans can get behind. Not only that, with a launch in Mexico, not exactly sure of the details, but by the looks of it, they're probably going to end up going to different territories in Mexico, so they don't always have to go to Las Vegas for the big fight nights and everything. But there's going to be a lot of boxing happening in Mexico. It's all business. That's all it is. Of course it is. And of course, it keeps the likes of Eddie Reynoso on side. It keeps the likes of Sal Canelo Alvarez on side. Of course, I mean, Eddie Hearn would love nothing more than to sign Canelo Alvarez on a long-term deal. Okay, he's got him for 2 fights at the minute. Of course, this weekend against Avni Yildirim, then against Billy Joe Saunders in May. But then the contract finishes. He's going to want Canelo Alvarez on side, okay? Why? Because it's going to help him push the Mexican brand, isn't it? Of course it is. And we know that Mexico produce, it's almost like they have a conveyor belt of good fighters coming through. Some directly from Mexico, some with Mexican heritage, such as American Mexicans, Mexican Americans, however you want to put it. Like a Leo Santa Cruz, for example. Fantastic fighter. Mikey Garcia, Andy Ruiz Jr., all these kind of guys. So don't be surprised if a lot of these guys end up going with DAZN. We know Mikey Garcia has already dipped his toes in. I think he's got another fight or two left with Matchroom as well. But don't be surprised if you see Andy Ruiz Jr. crossing over into DAZN. Of course, he's had 2 fights on DAZN against Anthony Joshua before and had other fights since. Don't be surprised if you're seeing a lot of Mexicans now getting signed up with Matchroom. So to go back to the point, which is what I was going to talk about a few days ago, was that this is business. It's purely business. If you beat our Brit, We've now got another Mexican to push in Mexico. Great stuff. Big up Matchroom. We're going to see a bit of an investment on this one. Somebody who wasn't supposed to win, now suddenly overnight is a bit of a star like Mauricio Lara. If the Brit wins, hey, doesn't matter. It's okay. We'll just keep throwing the Mexicans against the Brits. At some point, there's going to be a couple, 3, 4, 5, 10 Mexicans they can now talk about and put on the Mexican shows when the Mexicans won't have to travel to Las Vegas or wherever it may be and actually go to their own cities in El Paso, wherever it may be. Very, very smart. Very, very smart. Drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all in the next video.